Wow, that's amazing. I may have to get a recipe. Wow, you just gave it to me.
I just gave you pretty much the whole recipe, so cheers.
Cheers.
A little bit of fruit, and I have no idea what the fruits are that she's got in here.
It's very good. I think if you have sinuses, it's going to make you clear and clear.
Yeah.
That's good.
It is very good. Everybody that's had it has always
Very good.
swore
tell
about
her.
it. So you were just about to tell me a story in Israel.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about something as I was putting the microphone on. I took a tour with my husband in Israel in 2013. We had an Israeli tour guide, and there was probably 30 of us. So he had to give us each. Well, actually, we had something in our ear where he would talk to us, because sometimes we would get dispersed, and so if we took a potty break, he told us, just turn it off so that everybody
Was it two-way?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I've been on, you go on a tour, and a lot of times you got your tour guide and your crowd of people, and if you're not like right up in the front, you can't hear anything, and you can't ask questions.
No, you could hear him.
That's really nice.
So he said, turn it off if you're in the bathroom.
Yeah, because I don't want to listen to you flush the toilet.
Right. No one, yeah. He said it may be more than me hearing it. So yeah, that was funny. So we had to remember that. And then we would turn it back on because we definitely needed him. He would call us and we'd have to gather somewhere.
Well, this was the part of the what happens in Owls Down Under stays in Owls Down Under. You
Yeah.
don't want to be taking your microphone someplace else.
Right, yeah. No, it's in Israel.
So this we said was in 2013. Did you go over there for a particular purpose, holiday, or just you always wanted to go to Israel?
My husband and I've always wanted to go to Israel. Jewish background, Jewish family, and so it became a dream, and we had an opportunity to go with our church. The pastor had been there like 18 times. He's been there more since then, probably not now with all that's going on. But my husband and I had an opportunity to go. We were able to come up with the cash, and we met his sister-in-law and brother-in-law there. They're missionaries, but they were able to get easily into Israel from where they were living.
How long were you there?
We were there for 2 weeks, and it was amazing. I want to go back.
Where did you go?
We were we started out in the Galilee, like Tiberias area, and then we went up through Jerusalem. We were all over the old city of Jerusalem. We were in Tel Aviv for a little bit as well. Spent most of our time in Jerusalem and the old city.
How's the contrast between modern 21st century versus old city first century?
It's actually very modern. They have that old city divided into, okay, here's the Jewish part. This is the Armenian area, and then this is going to be more like an Arab area. And it literally, they told us that ahead of time, and that's really how it was. I did spend a lot of time in the Jewish shops buying gifts and meeting the shop owners. There was actually one lady there I'll never forget. She had like a little novelty candle shop, and she pretty much adopted me as her daughter. And I walked in there one night, and my sister-in-law and husband, because that's his sister, they were just walking around shopping and all that, and I was sick with a migraine while I was in the shop. And so she yells at my husband, like, why didn't you take care of her? Look, she's got a migraine. Look what you did. And so she goes, do you have medicine? I said, I have medicine. She goes, I get you water, you take your pill, and you just sit. And she was like mothering me. And we actually went back and saw her a couple times that week. Her name was Nicole. I'll never forget it. She was like my Jewish mama. And when we went back, of course, she said, are you taking care of her?
Well, of course.
You have to make sure she has water. And, if she gets sick again, just bring her back here and I'll get her well. And
so did you find 2 weeks was enough to see what you wanted to see? I know the country's not that big, but that said, it's pretty full of...
I still want to go back. I want to go to back to Jerusalem for sure. We met a friend there. We met someone there that I've stayed in touch with all these years, and she's invited me to come back. And I actually know someone who's there serving right now, just working in one of the schools, and also helping out the IDF. So,
how far and wide have you been beyond beyond Israel around the world?
That's probably the farthest. I have done a missions trip in Moldova. My family was Ukrainian, so I was right next to the Ukrainian border, but we were in a really poor area in Moldova. Also done some missions in South America, and then we did take a fun trip to England and saw historical sites there. That was amazing. I don't know if I'd go back, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fun trip in England in the same sentence. I don't hear that often.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, no. It was just amazing, yeah.
Some people I've heard, they're in and out of London in a day or two because they're on their way to wherever, and they just had a London stopover, let's say. And, they talk fondly of it. Somebody else I know spent, I think, a week. I think she spent about a week in the UK. I don't know exactly where. She hated it. Food was terrible, so on and so forth. Someone else I talked to recently had been through. Did she go from Iceland into the UK, or was it just a trip to Iceland? It might have been just a trip to Iceland, and she was just blown away with how nice it was, how great the food was. And that was the thing that this other person didn't like about England in the first place, was like there wasn't any good food. And they had been on a trip that had, I don't know if it started in Israel. I think there was a multi-country travel in this particular. Maybe she was in France, Israel, and then England. I don't know. Anyway, the least fun part of that for her had been the English portion of it because she didn't like the food. But I've heard great things about food. So,
Yeah.
How different was the food in your trip there to Israel?
I thought the food was amazing. We stayed at a pretty nice hotel that fed us. I mean, we had like a breakfast buffet, and the fruit was fresh, just really fresh fruit, because all that is grown at the kibbutzes. And then at dinner, you had the fresh vegetables that were grown around there, local farming kibbutzes. And so I thought it was amazing. Yeah. And they do say Israel's known for that. I thought the food was good in England, too. Everything from vendor food to restaurants. We never really did not have a bad meal. So, yeah.
We're going to Italy in the fall. We've been there before, and when we were there before, I liked it. Although I will say that what I liked best about it was the wine, and the wine was really fresh. Now, by fresh, I don't know if it was, they just picked the grapes in the morning, stomped it into grape juice, and put it in my glass at dinner.
Right.
I think they actually made wine out of it.
Wow.
But it just tasted fresh. It was cheap. I mean, you could get a really nice bottle for like $6 US, and you drank it. It was like water. We would drink a whole bottle of wine with dinner or something. And you come here, and maybe you've just gotten older, and the whole bottle of wine with dinner, and you're like, yeah, I've had a little bit more than I can handle or whatever. But there's something different about, I think, the quality or the freshness or something of the food.
Right.
And maybe it's just Europe, maybe it's European standards. I know that my wife recently read the book Clean Energy, I think it's called, with is it Casey and Callie Means, I think, are the authors of that. And they talk about all of the seed oils and the sugars and everything and the refined flours and what it does to your cells and your mitochondria and your energy and your gut bacteria, and everything is just. And then I hear people that go to Europe and they're like, you know what? All of my symptoms of whatever. I had an autoimmune disorder. I went to Europe and they went away like that.
Wow. Are you going on an art tour? Would you look at art, or is it mainly
we're going on a wine tour.
Okay.
But the wine tour is, so there's a couple that comes up here from Charleston to do wine tastings. They're like at New York Butcher, at Sam's Wine and Beer. I don't know if they do other places here in town, but they might.
The one in Lexington, they have that wine tasting? Okay, I see them out there on Friday night.
Thursdays.
Oh, yeah, they
Thursdays,
just have tables.
They have
the tables are set up.
a wine group.
Yeah.
I think it's a wine club, or it's a dinner club.
Yeah,
I don't know what they call it. But yeah, New York Butcher hosts that, and you go there to get your meal,
Yeah.
but it's bring your own chair, and maybe you could bring your own table if you want. Some people do really bring their own table.
I've seen that, yeah.
And they set up out in the parking lot.
Wow.
And so this couple from Charleston, Rita and Corrado, they're from northern Italy, and they've got a wine distribution business, and they come up here and basically they're selling their wine and doing tastings and whatever. And they've been doing this for, I don't know, 5 or 7 years or something in that time frame. And people have been doing this, have been saying to them, you should run a tour. And I think they used to many years ago, used to do some tours back there, but they stopped doing it for whatever reason. I think I might be talking out of school. I don't know. Anyway, they kind of talked them into doing it again.
Wow.
So their first one they're doing, at least in a good number of years, is this fall. They're doing two of them this fall. We're going on the first one. And then I think they have 4 of them already set up for next year.
Yeah.
And the themes are a little bit different. They're not all going to the same place. So this one, we're going to the Piedmont region, which is kind of in the western half of the cauliflower at the top of Italy.
Wow.
You've got the boot and the big area at the top. So Milan's kind of in the middle of that up there. The Piedmont area is just to the west of that, and that's where they're from, this couple from Charleston. And then from there we're going down to Florence, and then they're circling back up to Milan. We're going to split off from them down here because that's kind of at the end of the tour, and we're going to go down to the Amalfi Coast and spend a week down there by ourselves, and then fly back another week later.
Okay,
So,
so you'll be on the beach. Your wife will be very happy, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Happy wife, happy life, yeah.
I've heard that before. I am told it's good advice.
Yeah, she's going to be happy.
I have it on good authority that it is in fact good advice.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, they're now doing that, but it's a small limited group, but it's at different times when they go to different locations, it'll be get different wine from different regions, and kind of be able to compare the foods and things. So I think it'll be very good.
Yeah.
And I only kind of fell into it sideways. Another friend of mine happens to be part of that supper club
Okay.
over there at New York Butcher, and she needed somebody to go with one night, and she's like, well, she's been taking different friends, to go do that
Yeah,
with her.
I've
So
seen them out there, and they look like they're having a good time. So
I've gone a couple of times, and
okay.
they're having a good time.
yeah. No.
Even the one night there was there were thunderstorms. It was bad. And they didn't cancel it, but they didn't have the outdoor seating
Yeah,
portion of it.
you were inside.
Basically, there's this very small table indoors that maybe 5 people can sit around, or 6 people, or something
Okay.
like that. But the rest of everybody just got takeout.
Okay.
They had the same food and whatever, and they had the wine tasting, but it was just too windy and blustery to be outdoors.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
worked out fine. But I think there's only been one other time, maybe if there was going to be a freeze or something, there was going to be a snowstorm, ice or something. Maybe this was last December, maybe it was January, whenever it was that there was some bad weather. They actually
You said it's on Thursday nights?
Yeah, it's on
So they'll be out
Thursday
there tonight?
probably, but it's only once a month, so I don't know which.
Oh, okay.
I don't know which Thursday.
Right.
Could be tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's why we're doing that, and it's a wine tour. How much art we'll see, I don't know. We were there 25 years ago for our honeymoon, and didn't get to. I mean, you can't see everything, but that's why I was asking about 2 weeks in Israel. If it was long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, there's some places I want to go back to, like definitely the Western Wall and the old city of Jerusalem. You can't go wrong there. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I think I would have to be very careful. But I think it helps that I know people there. So
Yeah. Well, and we're going to go on this tour, and there's 20 people going over,
yeah.
but they're all from Lexington.
Okay. Right.
So some of them I know, some of them I don't know. Some of them I'll meet between now and then.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some that I won't meet before then.
This will be a lot of fun. Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Europe. I know with all that is going on with the family, it may be a while before I can do that. I don't know if I would maybe traveling by myself or with a sister or something. Yeah, there was a possibility of me going to Spain and walking the El Camino. There are a group of women that do that once a year. They walk the El Camino.
How long is that?
It's like 90 miles, but they split it out. They do like 9 or 10 miles a day. And they stay at inns along the way. And there are women that are going through some of the things I've been through with grief, and they just kind of process and leave it there. That's why I want to go. Number one, I need to get away and just process and leave it there, let it go. And yeah, so Spain is very appealing to me. I may end up doing that one year, maybe soon. Maybe not this year, but next year, since these ladies are going in May. But
we just went to the Congaree this weekend, and we did an 8-mile hike on the King Snake Trail, which is a 4-mile. Well, it's 8 mile, 4 miles out, 4 miles back. That's about my limit for
a day,
a hike.
yeah.
I mean, that's a piece of work. Now, there wasn't a lot of hills or anything in there because it's very flat in there, of course. And it's very low and very swampy in areas. Lots of evidence of boar activity, but didn't see any boar.
Oh, wow.
We did see one snake twice. We saw him on the way out and we saw him on the way back. He hadn't gone very far from where he started.
Oh, no.
He didn't startle us as much the second time because we kind of knew, like, hey, this is where we saw that snake before. And I looked over and like, oh, he's still there. Look at that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was, that's about, if I was on a better trail, I'm sure I could do 8 to 10 miles in a day. I don't think that'd be a problem.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can hike. My husband and I have done some hikes. We actually hiked up Pikes Peak in 2006. The year after we were married, I was 42 years old. And that's like one of the highest mountains. I think
People
it is the
don't like
highest
to drive
mountain.
that. How long is the hike up there?
It was 14 miles like this. And yeah, and the last part of it was like this, you might as well say. And we were carrying 50-pound packs, and I thought I was going to die. But we did it, and we did have to camp out because we did 6 miles the first day, and then I think it was the 7 miles the first day, we did 6 miles, but the last 3 miles are like a booger, it's bad. So, but then we took the cog rail down because we were meeting my sister-in-law and brother-in-law in Colorado Springs. So, yeah, we needed to get down. It would have taken us
the funny thing
another
is
day.
that I was talking to a friend of mine the other day because I'm supposed to be training for a 10K. I'm not a runner. I've never been a runner. I don't like to run, but I guess I should because it's good for you.
Yeah,
and you got to move.
Right.
So I was talking to a friend at work about it the other day, and I said something about training for it. He goes, "Yeah," he says, "I like to walk up the hills and run down the hills." And I thought about that, and I'm like, I think I'd rather run up the hills and walk down the hills because downhill is tough. You'd think that it wouldn't be, but no, you're constantly stopping yourself from falling down the hill, basically.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
I would rather walk up Pikes Peak, I'm sure, or hike up.
Yeah, that's 6 miles. You're talking about 6.1. I did a half marathon when I was 40, and I thought I was going to die. I said I'd never do it again. But my sister-in-law just turned 60, and she did 26, the full marathon, 26.2. She did all of it. Now, it took her almost 3 hours, but she did it.
Almost 3 hours?
No, I think over 3 hours.
I was going to say, it would be easily almost 5 or 6 hours for me.
Yeah, right.
We were a little over 4 hours doing that 8 miles the other day.
Oh.
I've done a bunch of 10K walks and jogs kind of around the neighborhood, and I was just down in Florida a couple weeks ago, and I did a couple down there. Just, go out on the street and just go.
Yeah.
It turns out if you go 3 miles that way, you got to come back 3 miles, and guess what? You've just done a 10K.
She trained, she just ran every other day, and she did it intermittently with the miles. Like she would do 10 miles one day, then she'd take the next day off. Then her next run would be 3 or 4, and then she would increase it the next day. So that's how she trained.
I haven't been beating myself up too badly about it.
Yeah.
It's been, but I think the best I can hope for right now is around maybe a little better than a 15-minute mile, which means that, for a 10K, 6.1 miles, 6.2, whatever it comes out to be, is going to take me somewhere coming up on an hour and a half.
Right.
I'd like to get it down to about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, don't push it. Yeah. No, it's just, just go at your own pace. I know my sister-in-law was running 12-minute miles, and that's how she was able to get through 26. Now, it was probably more like 4 or 5 hours for her, but she finished it. Her goal, it's like your only goal is, let me just finish it. Right. I don't care if I have to crawl.
Right.
to get through this. If I just finish it, I'm okay.
Yeah, but then you
Yeah.
get the realization that, hey, I can do that. And it's
Yeah.
that lesson, I guess, that kind of thing teaches you of, yes, I can do this. I can overcome, I can train for it, I can actually do
Right.
this. So that when a challenge comes along, you're like, yeah, I got this. This isn't that
Yeah,
hard.
well, exercise just clears your mind.
Yeah.
I've learned that it just you're clear. You think better. I do work out in the morning. I have an elliptical where it's arms and legs are going, and that's similar to a jog because you can control the speed. And I feel so much better. Then I'm ready to work. I'm ready to think. I'm ready to converse with people and deal with whatever problems I have. Yeah. So
So
I
what
think,
else do you do for fun in this town?
what do I do for fun? It's been, I need to work on that. Yeah, so I do have fun networking. I mean, I'm having fun meeting people because I have different businesses. So I put things on the calendar. I make myself get out of the house, and I actually went to a fun network group this morning. I mean, it was a kind of like a coffee talk, and they're fun people. They're encouraging. So most of the time, yeah.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 30 years. Yeah, a little over
Okay.
30 years. Yeah. I spent most of my time in Lexington after coming down here from Colorado to go to USC, and just stayed. So walking, getting outside. I'm excited about the new trail at the old mill.
Have you been on it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
kind of nice.
yeah, I take my dog. So doing things with her has been helping. She's fun. My dog is fun, and she's funny, makes me laugh. So I have fun with her. We're also in dog training. So
Who's training who?
I have a trainer because my dog was just kind of like not listening.
Well,
And
sometimes I wonder if the dog
Yeah.
is training the people instead of the people
right,
training.
she'll try. She's really like an alpha, and so I'm trying to get over on her. And so I'm in a dog training session right now, an 8-week intense session. And so, yeah, so actually I'll tell you that the trainer has had more to say to me than my dog. Yeah, she's mainly talking to me. So, yeah, like what you said, that's exactly how it is. But she's really a fun dog, and she's
What kind
fun
of dog
to.
is she?
She's a jet black German Shepherd female, and
Wow.
she's got a lot of energy. And so I think it's weird. Maybe my idea of fun is doing something laid back, like watching a movie on Apple TV or reading
Well-
a good book. What's wrong with that?
It's, at 3 o'clock tonight, 3 o'clock in the morning tonight, I'm going to be outside looking at a full moon.
Ooh. Oh, it's going to be full tonight. Okay.
Well, it's
yeah.
not going to just be full. There's a lunar eclipse.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm
So the
glad.
moon will be reddish orange, and I'm pretty sure the sky will be pretty cleared up by then.
Oh, you're going
It's
to take
supposed to-
pictures,
I'm
right?
going to try to,
Okay.
but I mean, just like to see it. But
Yeah.
to me, that's somewhat of my idea of a good time.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess I've just gotten to do things more laid back. Yeah. It has been just that kind of year where you're going back and forth from Virginia. And last year we were going back and forth from Colorado after dealing with the death. And then my mother-in-law lost her husband on top of everything else. So that was one of the 8 deaths. And so we have been going back and forth from Virginia. And then we sold a property, so we had to stay at La Quinta Inn. And I'm telling my husband, don't even think that this is an idea of a vacation, because it is not.
So you said you were here, you've been here about 30 years. You came out here to go to school, and you
Yeah.
stayed here.
Yeah.
You were in Colorado. It's not typical for people to go that far across the country to go to school, and I don't know what the draw would be 30 years ago to come to the University of South Carolina. I'm not
Yeah.
sure where their strengths are, and so on and so forth.
I wanted to grow up, and I needed to run away. I wanted a legal way of just running away from home. And
So I did the same thing, but I only went 4 hours away.
yeah, no, I wanted to go somewhere far, far away. And so the schools that I was looking at were all in the South. And so had planned to move from the Midwest to somewhere in the South. It would have been, I narrowed it down to Tennessee and South Carolina. And South Carolina was more appealing to me. And I'm glad. I'm glad. I mean, this was perfect for me.
What was the education or the major you were looking at doing here? Or were you just
Social
picking a
work.
school first?
Social work. No, I was told when I was in Colorado that I would need to go back to school in order to do what I really wanted to do, and that was counseling. And if you would ask me in high school, what did I want to do? I wanted to counsel troubled youth. Well, I did that for 22 years. Actually, a little bit longer than that, because I counseled for 28 years. Yeah. So, yeah, I did this for 28 years, but it was a very high burnout job.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, yeah, after 28 years, I was ready to go.
A lot of stories that you don't want to hear and you can't share.
Right.
So you can't let them out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would find that somewhat difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe I would find that very difficult. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I like to talk to people. I don't mind, let's say the therapeutic aspect of talking to people. They just need somebody to talk to.
Right.
And I'm happy to do that. Much more than I would have thought I would have. Turns out I'm a people person.
Right. Oh, good. Okay.
I didn't know that. I thought I was an introvert. I thought I was shy and didn't really like people and whatnot. It turns out I'm just an unskilled extrovert.
Yeah, and then what I found out about myself is that I am an introvert, and sometimes I'm not comfortable around a lot of people, and so I can get tired from being around people all day.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm just
true
tired.
Sign of an introvert.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people who say that they're an introvert, but they don't get tired out.
Right.
And I'm like, you're not an introvert.
Yeah.
You're like I was. You're just an unskilled extrovert.
Right. Yeah. So that's.
Yeah. Somebody made that clear to me one day, and because they'd asked me what I had done over the weekend, and in fact, Dwayne Green, who I was mentioning earlier podcast guest. In fact, I think I told this story when he was here too. I saw somebody after a weekend, and they said, "Well, how was your weekend?" I'm like, "Oh, it was great." Well, what made it great? Well, I was in church on Sunday morning, and my friend Dwayne was there, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was just so good to see my friend Dwayne. And there were two other things that had happened that same weekend, and they were both kind of around the same theme of talking to somebody that he hadn't spoken to in a while, but it was still, the thing that made the weekend great was the interaction with people. Mm-hmm. And they said, "You're a people person." And I'm like, no way, I can't. This is, it blew my mind that I could possibly to do that. So that's one of the things I like about doing this podcast, is that I get to do that. I also get to do it in a one-on-one setting, which also does kind of work pretty well for me. I've had some people say, you need a sidekick. I don't know. I've thought about that a couple of times. It would change the dynamic. It would definitely be a different setup, and I don't know if you could quite. It would work for some guests and not all guests. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And the guests that are a little more quiet, if you're the one quiet person, let's say with two more outgoing people, you're never going to get a word in edgewise. So if I had a co-host, let's say, I'd have to do it, let's say, Joe Rogan style. Joe Rogan sits there, and it's just him and the guest, and you don't know that there's another guy, Jamie, who's just sitting off screen over here, and he's sometimes interacts a little tiny bit, or the guest to be like, "Hey, Jamie, can you go look this up online?" So make sure I don't say something stupid over here or whatever. So it works out to some degree to have a third party in the room, but I don't know. We'll see how it ends up working out. But
okay, yeah.
But that's the whole thing. So. Why did you stay after 30 years then? I mean, was it just you found a place you wanted to run away from home to, or?
Well, I found a job at the state, working for the state of South Carolina. That's where I worked for 28 years, yeah. And I knew that was my independence, and I was ready to just kind of work my way out of just being independent. And thankfully, I'm going to say this was a blessing. Some people wouldn't think of this as a blessing, but my dear sweet dad, who I had mentioned earlier, of course he was much younger then, drove me out here. I spent 3 days driving from Colorado with my car and a U-Haul truck that I ended up delivering back by myself as he was getting on the plane to fly back to Denver, he said, "You are officially cut off." It was the best thing for me because I knew it's like whatever mess I get myself into, I have to get myself out now. And so I developed a kind of relationship with him where if it was a mess, I would call and explain it to him. And we had the kind of relationship, well, what are you going to do? And I would tell him, he said, okay, well, you need to go do it. And I would. And that was the kind of relationship I had developed with my dad, because he was pretty true to that. So, but it's really been the best thing for me. It benefited me as a money coach. Now I'm telling them, hey, you can tell your kids you're not paying for this. They'll figure it out. Because that was how my dad was.
It's interesting because I think I have almost that exact same relationship with my daughter.
Good.
I didn't cut her off, although I'm trying to. And she wants nothing more than to be cut off.
Oh.
But
yeah,
she, and it was almost in reverse order.
Yeah.
When she was 18, Christmas Day, she wasn't here. And, we were talking to family, and they're like, so where's your daughter? I'm like, I don't know. She's not here. For all I know, she could be in Colorado. Now, it was somewhat of a throwaway line, although she had kind of hinted that she had this friend out there that, for some reason or other, it was just kind of both in my wife's and my back, the back of her head that, it's possible she could be out there. Mm-hmm. But she had told us she was working at Amazon. So we were under the impression, let's say officially, that she was actually at work at the Amazon warehouse here, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, in the middle of this phone call with family, another phone rings. My wife's cell phone rings, and so she goes away to take the call. She comes back in. She goes, well, she's out in Colorado. She'd gotten in her car and drove across the country
to be with her friend. Yeah,
just to go out there and spend a week or so. And I'm like, you did what? Like, all right, well, good on you. I said, because I don't know that even I would have done that at 18. But here you are, 18 years old. You're going to drive across the country on your own. Like. You didn't involve us. You didn't need to have, logistics set up for you or anything like that. Now, that said, while she was out there, she, one of the tires on her car blew while she was going down the interstate.
Oh, sure.
And so then I did get the call. Like, Dad.
What do I do?
Well, she had already tried to change the tires. She had some friends with her, and they were looking up YouTube videos. And they were not entirely successful with it. They did get a tow truck called, and she was calling just to find out, because she knew that I was probably going to have to pay for it, so that I have a place in mind maybe she wanted me to take it to, or that I wanted her to take it to. Yeah. So she took it to the tire dealership out there, whatever it was out there, and I'm like, all right, just get 4 new tires, because you don't need to be driving on 1 good tire and 3 bad tires. So then she had to get back, because she did have to be at work. And now she was losing time, so I'm like, all right, you're going to have to leave. And so I said, how do you plan on getting back? She says, well, I'm just going to drive straight through, and I'm just going to sleep overnight in the rest areas. And I'm like, okay, no, you're not. I'm not going to have my 18-year-old.
It's freezing.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was Christmas time, and you're in Kansas or Oklahoma or wherever you are.
She ain't sitting in the car. I can tell you.
No.
Nope.
That was her plan. It's like, no, we're going to have a different plan. I will pay for hotel rooms along the way. And I said, you can take I-20, or I-10 rather.
Yeah.
No, I-20 across the south.
Right.
From Dallas all the way east.
Yeah.
Or you can come over on 70 and whatever. And I said, given the weather, going to have some snow coming in, you're better off going south and coming across the southern tier. So she did that. Took her 3 days. And the closer she got to home, the shorter the stops became, because she was basically trying not to get all the way home.
Were you able to GPS her, like find out? You weren't able to do that. Okay, because a lot of parents are doing that now. So yeah.
Well, so we're not that interested in being that. You might have guessed from like it's Christmas Day. We don't really know where she is. Our whole point has always been it's your life. You need to go live your life because at a certain point, whether you like it or not, we're not going to be here.
Yeah.
You don't want us to be here, whatever it is, you need to learn how to live your life.
Yeah.
So the fact that she went off and did that,
Yeah.
not really the kind of thing that you might say is, it's not in the good parenting book, maybe. I don't know. But she did it. And I've told her repeatedly, I'm like, yeah, I'm impressed.
Well, she did it. You
It was a
did.
dumb
You
idea.
didn't know what she was doing.
But I'm impressed that she went and did it. Good
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. No, I think that's good. Yeah, and she was okay. She got
Yeah.
back except for just losing one tire and then you having to buy 4. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you're
So
lucky.
she's remained independent. She still has
Yeah.
her own place over in Forest Acres right now. She was in Charleston for a couple of years.
Wow.
So, I mean, she's pretty independent.
Right.
And, she wants, her world and our world don't always have to collide.
No. And
Doesn't really
yeah.
want a lot of over. But note,
Yeah.
she wants to be close enough that she wants to be in Forest
Yeah.
Acres over here.
And, and
She's like,
another,
that's just close enough without
Yeah.
being too close.
And see, and another kind of like a money issue, it's like if the parents that keep their kids, too close, oftentimes, they may give generously, they may be very generous, but there's going to be strings attached. And that was definitely the case with my family, both my parents. I mean, they divorced when I was young and remarried other people. If they did give us something, there were strings attached. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I actually set a boundary, and I was, no. So, yeah, you said that your daughter actually wanted to be more independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of him. I work under him. Like, it's like if they owe you something, the Thanksgiving Day turkey isn't going to taste so good because
Right.
they know they owe Dad a lot of money. And so I can't just eat this and feel good and have a great visit with my family. It's going to be like, I'm going to choke down dinner and leave. And
I don't know how to describe it. The feeling that I have about gifts, I despise Christmas. It's the obligations of gift giving,
Yeah.
I think, destroy the whole meaning. First of all, I thought this was the Christ Mass. Didn't know that this was the Santa Claus Exchange Gift Mass.
Right.
But leave that aside. Even then, it's a great time to get together with people and really enjoy them. There shouldn't be I can't enjoy you unless you bring me a gift, and vice versa. Like, there's got to be this exchange. I don't mind giving you gifts. I love to give gifts. If you expect the gift, then I can't give you a gift.
Right.
All I've done is met your expectations.
Yeah.
I haven't done something special for you. So, I mean, both my wife and I are very adamant about this kind of
Oh,
thing.
good.
We do not
Yeah.
give each other
No.
gifts unless
No, I
it's
don't
like,
either.
hey, I found this thing. I know you're
Yeah.
going to love this. Or I want to do this thing for you.
Yeah.
There is, anniversary comes along. There isn't, I've got to come home with a big bouquet of flowers, or I've got to buy a diamond earring or something like that.
Yeah.
You can do that,
Yeah.
but it's got to be because it's genuine that you're doing it because you feel moved to do that.
Right.
Not because I'm expecting you to make me a dinner. Or I'm
Yeah.
expecting you to go, buy me a tie or something. I despise that kind of thing.
Oh, I know.
Because it takes that
Yeah.
that
joy.
meaning out of it.
Yeah, no, we're not. Yeah, my husband and I have not gotten into that. Like I said, I grew up Jewish, so we didn't even celebrate Christmas. I do now. I'm in a church now, so. But yeah, it was never. I guess even when I became a believer, I was kind of disgusted with that. I became kind of disgusted that they were just moving away from that. So I never got into
So
that.
you mentioned working under David Ramsey,
I was trained under him.
and you retired from the state. So what are you doing these days?
Well, so I'm a money coach, and basically my job is to be a guide for people that want to get out of debt, they want to save money, and they want to prepare for their future so that one day they can retire.
I talked to somebody yesterday, and they bought a house. I think the price of the house was something north of $300,000, and their mortgage broker encouraged them to not put 20% down, to put only 5% down. And the argument was keep your cash so that, if you have a rough time, you've got that cash to draw on to make your mortgage payments while you're going through a rough time.
Okay.
Because if that rough time comes and you don't have this cash, the bank doesn't care. So I'm like, okay. But now you got to buy PMI on top of that. So you're probably not getting the most favorable interest rate.
Yeah. No.
And you've got a much bigger debt than you need.
Yeah.
Which means you've got a higher payment with a higher interest rate and with the extra PMI. But I understand the argument of, have some cash to get through the lean time. So I know Dave Ramsey recommends having an emergency fund, which I think is 3 months of expenses.
Yeah, but you're supposed to really have that before you even buy the house. So
Well, yes, there is that.
more than likely, if they're wise, they may already have that. And that's what you tell the broker. I already have an emergency fund if anything happens. What I'm learning is that these companies make money off of that. They make, the more you owe, the more they make. I've experienced that when I bought my vehicle and I paid cash for it, for a Kia. And they were trying to get me to finance the whole thing, and I said, I've got cash. I mean, I literally had saved up for a year and a half, and I had cash. And they just didn't, it was a new car, but they didn't seem to get it. I mean, and so I had to keep telling them. And what ended up happening was, because it was late by the time we left, I did end up with some kind of finance plan, but I gave him a check and then I paid the rest off, because you can make payments. So yeah, you can pay it off early, even if you end up buying. I mean, my husband and I had the discussion, we're like, we're paying this thing off in 2 weeks, and we did. So we owed that dealership nothing. But yeah, they frequently will do that, and they'll tell you, they'll try to even get you to borrow more than what you owe. Like, don't you need new furniture? Aren't you going to need to restore some things, even though you're moving into a brand new house? So you have to be really careful about that. What I would do in that situation is like, no, I'm putting my 20% down and I'm going to work like a bunny to replace this money.
Right.
And I already have a plan to do that. And that's what you say, and that's it. Yeah.
If somebody is buying a house or something, what would you do for if I went to talk to this friend of mine and I said, hey, next time, here's what you do. Not give them the advice. I want to put them in touch with Karen.
Oh. Okay.
Is that what you would do? How would that work?
Well, I would kind of guide them. The steps of Dave Ramsey is you start your emergency fund, and then you pay, which is $1,000. I mean, anybody could come up with that. Then you pay off every debt. And then you work on 3 to 6 months. And then guess what? The house is like step 4.
Right.
So that means you already have your emergency in place, the emergency fund in place before you buy the house. But some people have separate funds for like the house fund, or which is fine. That means that their down payment. And so that's how I would guide them. Just like, where are you with debt? Are you debt free? These were questions that my first mortgage officer asked me. How much debt do you have? And then what they do is they check behind you. So even though you may say, I may have $200 on a credit card, I mean, that's it. That's all the debt I had when I first bought my house. He checked behind me to make sure, and he's like, yeah, you just had a small credit card. So yeah, they're very careful about that. I felt like they were concerned. So yeah.
So as a money coach, essentially, people just come knocking on your door. Do you have an office? Do people call you?
I work out of my home, and people do call me. I've worked virtually. I've actually met people in coffee shops. I have gone to people's homes. My first client happened to be a very close friend of mine, and I went to her house and met with her one-on-one, and her husband was involved too. We always encourage that as money coaches because money is a marriage.
Are people surprised at how easy it is to kind of get your life back in order?
Yeah. Yeah, they did it. And they're like, wow. And so we just suggest things. And thankfully, this first couple, they did what I had suggested. And they're like, wow, I mean, this is easy. So, yeah.
How'd you encounter Dave Ramsey?
I actually started learning about him at our church. I'd not heard of him until maybe 2008, 2009. That's when it was. My husband.
In the crash.
In
the down years.
Yeah, and we were not in like a lot of debt. We owned a home, and we had maybe generally our credit card was paid off, so we weren't like in debt. We didn't have any car payments or anything.
There's a lot of people out there they got a couple $1,000 in a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
They got a couple cars they got.
Ridiculous.
Maybe
Yeah.
they got a kid or two coming up, and they're like, okay, I got to buy a car because unfortunately, this day and age, you can't just have your kid have a bicycle. No, they got
Yeah.
to have their own car to get someplace. So next thing you know, you maybe got 3 cars, maybe you got 4 cars.
Well, they're also doing the family loan. Like I owe money to my in-laws. You hear that, and then you hear I have a personal loan too, and then I have my credit card, and so they're just like living way above their means. But we didn't do that. But my husband was the one that really liked Dave Ramsey, so we literally started going every week. It was like a 9-week session. We went every week at church. Religiously, we were there, and we
No
loved
pun intended.
it. Sorry?
Religiously, no pun intended.
We were there, yeah. It was Sunday afternoon, and so that was our time from like 3 to 6. And so
What church
at
was
Mount
it?
Horeb Church, yeah.
Because I had friends that did it. They were, I think, Dave Ramsey leaders, I think.
Right.
At
I've done that
Sax-Gotha.
too. I've led online. I've actually led a group online, and that was like all over the country. So that was so cool because I met people from all over the country. But I mean, we did everything he said. We did the emergency fund. We did the debt. We paid our debts. We were actually walking around with envelopes where we put all of our grocery money in there, and we made sure everything was paid. And it was great. We actually ended up buying land because he was talking about investments, and then I saw some opportunities when we were in Dave Ramsey. I mean, it's just that you don't realize the opportunities that
Your mind changes, what you see changes,
Yeah.
because your vision is, the things that are now important to you are more
Right.
visible, let's say.
Yeah, so in 2012, actually, that was one of the opportunities. And that's what Dave Ramsey says. I mean, if you have an opportunity, go for it. Neither of us were making a lot of money. And of course, we didn't have kids, but we were barely, just not really making a lot of money. But we had an opportunity, and it was a chance to pay off the house. Well, both of us looked at each other like, we're going for it. We're doing it. We only owed $50,000, so we paid off the house. And then after that, we were debt-free. And we actually had money left over to buy 2 vehicles. And so we looked at each other like, are we going back into debt? We're not doing that.
For many years, I did not have any car payments, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
And then I picked up actually 3 car payments. I bought a new car for myself. Typically, I would have said, buy a used car, the most expensive used car that you can afford for cash. Mm-hmm. So that limits you to, you're not buying a $40,000 used car. You're not buying, a Cadillac that's just a year old, or you're not going to buy a Mercedes that's just a year old and say, look, I bought a used car. No, you didn't. You bought an expensive car. So I would say you buy the most expensive used car you can afford for cash.
Yeah.
I did that. My wife had her car for, I think, 19 years, 17 years or something like that. So
Yeah.
she, of course, didn't have a car payment on that for the longest time. But that car that I bought for cash turned out to be it was a money pit. It was not a good, even though I paid cash for a used car, turns out it wasn't such a good idea. It was a BMW 5 Series. It was nice, but they don't. I don't think they last much more than 100,000 miles, and I bought it with 98,000 miles on it.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it's hard to find parts, right? What's that?
Well, it's just the cost of maintenance and everything's breaking on. It was. I finally gave up, but then I bought a 2016 Jaguar. Now that was used. I bought it in 2019, and I thought I got a good price on it, and I've actually been very, very happy with it. But I still picked up a payment. My wife finally needed a new car, so I kind of did the same thing with her. She got a used car. She's got a 2018.
Yeah.
2019, something like that, Volvo. Maybe it's a 2020. But she's got a Volvo. And that had been the car she'd had prior to that she'd driven so for so many years. She loves Volvo. And I had bought a car for my daughter, which was also a used Volkswagen, but I had 3 car payments.
Yeah.
And so I finally paid those off last year.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, we're right back to doing, you can breathe easy. You know, the paycheck comes in, and you know what? There's still some of the last paychecks still here.
Well,
what's up with that? How is?
Yeah, there's so much that just comes to you. We were really lucky. We had another opportunity in 2022. We get a call from my sister-in-law, and she wanted the house that we were living in that was paid for, but she was going to give us her house. Now, this was a gem because her house is bigger. And this was also the house that Jameis lived in before we got married. He loves this house, and all he was talking about was going back there to live. So he was happy as a clam. And we were able to do the exchange, the 1031 exchange. So it was of no consequence to either one of us. And both the houses were paid for. So these are opportunities that just come to you. And a lot of people don't realize that. You have opportunities. When you're debt free, you don't have to worry. So right now I'm living in a bigger house with no mortgage. And yeah, I mean, at my age, I think that's great. And I love the house. It's an older house. I don't care. I love it. And yeah, getting back to what you were saying about your daughter. My daddy never bought me a car, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's a different day and age.
I just I'm looking at the phones and the cars and the coffees these kids are drinking and driving around, and the clothes, and they're not working. It's like. I'm just amazed. I wouldn't say appalled, but just wow.
Yeah, it's why I say it's a different world. I don't know how it functions. I mean, I'm in it. I still don't know how it functions. I have faith that it's going to function.
Yeah.
Because it does.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't have the debts that I used to have is so emotionally freeing.
Yeah.
That it enables me to, it enables you to kind of get through the things that you think are otherwise going to be devastating. So I was down in Fort Lauderdale, middle of February, and I was down there for a business trip, and while I was down there I got towed because I parked in a parking spot that the local police didn't think I should be in. I thought I was fine. Okay, we have a difference of opinion, but they got the tow truck, so they win the argument. So I come back to my car and it's gone. So I find out, okay, pick it up from the tow yard. Okay, I go pay the impound fee, get in the car, I'm driving away, and it's got a little bit of a pull to the right. Okay, I'm like, all right, they screwed up the alignment a little bit. Not surprising, I guess, but, annoying. 24 hours later, I'm in a parking lot at the hotel. Tie rod snaps off. Now, this is my car. It's 600 miles away, from home. And I'm like, okay, so I ended up spending an extra week. I know it's terrible. February, I was down in Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton, on my own, having a good time. Life could be worse.
I can't leave. I don't have a car. Yeah.
Right. But $2,200 for the repair.
Wow.
I didn't know whether or not I was going to be paying for the hotel fee or not. My employer, I would say, extremely graciously picked up the hotel tab for the extra week.
Wow.
Because I was down there on a business trip to start with. I don't think they're required to do that. That's why I say I think extremely graciously they helped me out on that a lot.
Wow.
But, friends of mine are like, oh my God, how are you sleeping or whatever? I'm like, I'm fine. Because I didn't have debts.
Yeah.
That enables you to kind of go through and go, oh, you mean I'm going to spend another week in a hotel in Boca Raton, Florida? Huh.
See?
Sounds like fun. You make the best of it. I don't have a car, but I can walk around the corner to Publix over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, I went out, ironically, this hotel I was at, I could walk down Glades Road in Boca Raton, get to the other side of the turnpike, and there's a road that goes along the side of the turnpike. It's called Boca Rio Road. And that's a long, straight road that I could go walking on and jogging on or whatnot. Turns out, that's where my wife started her jogging and running career, let's call it, 30 years ago. Before I even met her, she used to live in an apartment complex, townhouses or something down at one end of that. So I find myself kind of 30 years later, I'm going up and down the same road. Then I was talking to another friend of mine who lives in Texas, and he used to live there. And he goes, yeah, I used to live down there. It turns out he and my ex-wife, or my wife rather, used to live probably right next door to one another. They were in the same townhome community down there, probably at the same time. So I'm like, how coincidental is that? Weather was beautiful. I got sunrises. That's Lake Murray. I thought it was. I have a
That's
picture.
Lake Murray. It could have
Yeah.
been Florida. Yeah.
I have a picture from a sunrise in
See,
Florida.
I
It's a lot
get
like
pictures
that.
from the beach from my sister-in-law because she's right on the beach. So yeah, I'm like, God, I'm jealous.
Yeah, but if you don't have, if you've got all the debts and everything else and all
Yeah,
those other concerns,
exactly.
you can't enjoy the moment.
Yeah. No, and see, so technically, yeah, like I was telling you, I could go to Spain. I have the money to do that, and I could go look at art in Italy or France. The issue is, like, for us, it's just time and taking care of mother-in-law and that kind of thing. So, it's freeing. And then when you have emergencies, my husband needed hip surgery because, he's got the problems. I mean, he's got bone degeneration, arthritis. And, when he needed $5,000 per surgery out of pocket, of course, it was like probably $100,000 state-of-the-art surgery. I only had to pay $5,000. So, yeah. But that was an emergency because we really only had a month to prepare that. But you're like, no problem.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place to be, and I know Dave Ramsey always talks about, live like no one else,
Right.
so that you can live like no one else.
Yeah.
Because you basically, you're not really making sacrifices now. You're taking care of yourself now is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And taking care of yourself, which is the work on getting out of debt, that is satisfying in its own right because you're putting yourself first. And it's not that you're trying to be selfish or self-centered, but you have to take care of yourself. It's why on an airplane they tell you to put your own oxygen mask on before you help the guy next to you. Because you need to take care of yourself first. If you can't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else.
Right.
So if you want to live a life of service, you must start with servicing yourself.
Yeah.
That's what that debt payoff is. That is an act of self-service. And it's wonderful. It feels very good. But then you get through that and you get to this place where no one else is. That debt-free space where you have that freedom, that total freeing feeling. But now what can you do? Now you can serve so many other people.
Right.
You can
generous. You can be generous.
Right.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can be so much. It's almost like a life secret that shouldn't be that hard or shouldn't be that secret. It should be much more evident to everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't tell many people because they don't. I guess they misconstrue. They don't really know what it means. So I don't talk about it a whole lot. Maybe I do wake up and I thank God every day that I'm in that situation. But it's nothing that I broadcast. Well, I guess I am now. But okay, world, I'm debt free. I am debt free. But normally it's not something that comes up. Sometimes when it does, they're like, "How can I get there?"
Right.
Well,
so let me ask that. How do people get there? How do people find you?
You can get there by not making a lot of money. You don't have to be a millionaire to be debt-free. You have to discipline. Get on a budget. This is how you got out of debt, probably. You were on a budget. You had to limit your spending. Well, maybe we can't go out to eat every night.
I do have an alcohol problem. But it's not a drinking problem. It's
Right.
a storage problem.
Well, you collect. This is your hobby. And so,
But I can afford to do this now. I could not have done this before, which is why. Somebody, I forget, I think it's Glenn Beck, I heard say this once. He says, don't waste your drinking on your youth. You're going to want to drink when you're older.
Yeah. Right.
But how do people get a hold of you? How does somebody find help from Karen Skelton?
Well, I have a website. I'm actually on Google. I've got business cards. I'm out networking with bankers, business owners, even other students, people involved with internships. I meet young people. I've met people of all ages who are struggling. So I give out a card. I have a card. I have a website, and I'm on Google. And so if you Google like money coach, I'm one of them. and one of the lower priced ones. You know, we don't charge as much as a financial planner would charge, nowhere near as much, because we're just there to kind of guide you. But yeah, the key is getting on a budget and limiting your spending, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And then you may see the opportunities that you may have been missing earlier. And so yeah, that's a big thing.
It's kind of like you start shoveling with a spoon, but as you do that, it's like suddenly the spoon turns into a shovel.
Right.
And then before you know it, it's turned into a bulldozer. And you thought that this big mountain was going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And it turns out about halfway through, it got easy.
Yeah.
It's to start with seemed daunting, but then it turned out it wasn't that hard. But then by the time you got into it, it's like, wait a minute, this got a lot easier all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're just kind of sliding downhill.
Yeah, and I think too, like what I tell people, if you do have extra money, invest. You know, put it away somewhere where you can't get to it. We have most of our money right now is somewhere where it would take a day and a half and probably a marital flight to get to, and it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. If we both do not agree on getting that money out of the investment, we don't do it. It has to be a joint decision. So, yeah.
That's good.
One of them's going to have to get over it. So.
Well, Karen, I think that's a great place to stop.
Yeah.
Your glass is empty.
Great.
Sorry.
This was very good. Thank you.
Have people get a hold of you as they can, but
Yeah.
it's been wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you
the
very
name of
much.
my group is, my business is Peaceful Life Financial Coaching. So that's the other way of how you can
Peaceful
get a hold
Life,
of me.
there you go. Perfect.
Peaceful Life Financial Coaching, yeah.
Perfect.
And I'm the only one of.
All right. We'll end it there. Thanks.
Thank you.